That's it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So my first question is kind of a general one. It seems like we're reaching sort of a peak, an intense period in regards to social issues, environmental issues. Where are we at in our evolutionary journey?
Well, okay. I can say that we are living in a very interesting time, but it's been true from centuries, even for millenniums, because every single day is really special. In the planet Earth, there's always happen all those. What did I find? I forget this word. Can you help me? I find a word. Something that is happening all the time. Events. That's it.
You know, can I just stop for 1 second? I'm sorry. I'm just going to move this further out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah, so how do you perceive things? I know a lot of people are very concerned. A lot of people think the end is coming.
Oh, no. This is just, the original question is how I perceive the world. And the way I perceive the world is endless, it's the same, but it's always shifting all the time. Then we can have a different perspective of the world. One, if you see generally from a very higher point of view, or a particular point of view when you're part in the world. In the particular point of view, everything looks like a huge drama, big crisis, that everything is happening. From a higher point of view, you can see a beautiful living being, which is the planet Earth, and there's a lot of events happening all the time. Events that most of that can affect or not humanity. But events are happening all the time. As a living being, the planet Earth have a metabolism. And that metabolism have an equilibrium and is always evolving. And humanity is just part of that planet Earth. Humanity is one organ of the planet Earth, just like the atmosphere, the forests, the oceans, and really every single species is an organ of the planet Earth. Then humanity is just one organ. But that organ is made by 6 billion living beings, men, women. Then we all together, we create humanity, and we are one. If we put a point of view of an individual, then we have to see in what part of the planet is that individual. Could be in Canada, could be in the States, could be in Japan, could be in India. Like if we use the point of view of Japan, not that long ago, they have a big earthquake, a big tsunami, that it feels like there was a big catastrophe, like the end of the world. But it just was a big event that happened in that area. And that event was caused really by nature. But there's other events that is caused by humans, like in the Middle East. All that violence is caused by humans, not by nature. Then our perspective is completely different to see what happened in Japan than what is happening in the Middle East or any other place where violence is acting right now. Then we can see that the evolution of humanity as a part of the planet Earth, it takes times of stability and times of crisis. And it's in the times of crisis when humanity had tendency to change and to change the way they behave with one another and break the stability, bring something new, change power, we can say, in many ways, and reach another time of stability. And it's happening all the time. A big peak was in the Second World War, in the big war in Europe and in the Pacific, and the whole world in many, many, many ways. It was caused by humans, all those big events. And that transformed the way they used to live before and after the war.
So, how would you describe maybe the forces at work in humans? We seem to be a unique organ on the earth in that we're a conflicted species, unlike it seems animals, where we have someone like yourself or like ourselves who believe in it. I mean, if we created the world, I would not have created this. I'm sure you wouldn't have. So, what's the force that creates this world where we're actually, like say, our effect on the world actually affects other species? We're shifting the whole planet.
Well, once again, we have to go back to this different point of view. Right now, I'm using the highest point of view to see the totality. When you are using the individual point of view, you don't see the totality. You only see what is surrounding you. You see how all these events are affecting first your personal life, then the life of your family, the life of your community, the life of your city, the life of your country. You can see how you're being affected by all those events. Then you are in the middle of whatever is happening, and you have actions, reactions according to that point of view. In this other point of view, everything is in many ways completely irrelevant. You just see the beauty of how all those forces get an equilibrium. You can see this metabolism of the planet Earth that is perfect, and that includes humanity. Because humanity, perhaps, I'm not sure about that, there's the only species who have the capacity to dream, to have a powerful memory. And I compare humanity as the brain for a human being. Then humanity have that capacity to perceive what is nature around and to transform it first into their mind, and then with the action change it and create something new from something that exists before. It's like when I travel around the world and I see all those different cities, all the different civilizations, even the ancient civilizations, I see that everything that human create first exists in the human mind, and with the action we make it real. It came true. But this is humanity as one living being. And you can see that it happened in different places in the planet Earth. It happened in Egypt. It was happening at the same time in India, at the same time in Japan, at the same time in America, with different actions and reactions, but always getting that equilibrium. And you see in those human societies how a new society grow to the top, get the peak, get the power, and start decaying until another power take over and continues in a different direction. Then many human society groups are happening at the same time, and have in the point of view of the individual, have different kind of evolution. But in this other point of view, you can see that equilibrium. Then to think that is the end of the world is just nonsense at all. Humans are not that powerful that can destroy the world. Even if they use all the atomic bombs, they will not destroy the world. They may destroy humanity, but not the world.
And several species, it sounds like. Several.
Well, you know, the Earth gonna have a new equilibrium anyway.
Yeah. So what is the force of fear in our lives? Like, what is the force of fear in our lives? Because I would imagine that's one of the strong points in this drama. And what's the, or maybe first describe how you perceive fear, and maybe describe what role it plays in our existence, and how we can approach it from a new angle to actually shift our whole paradigm.
Well, first of all, we need to understand what fear really is. You know, it's an emotion that we call fear. And fear is extremely important for the human mind. You know, it's like pain for the physical body. Pain is telling you that something is wrong with your body. it hurts, you have pain, something is wrong, you have to do something. Well, fear for the mind is like pain for the body. Fear is telling you that you are in danger. You better get out of there or you may die. Well, fear is completely normal in a human. We are programmed in order to feel fear. The real fear, you know you are in danger. You know you can die. You know you can be paralyzed. You can whatever. But this is real. But there's another kind of fear that is a distortion of the real fear. And that fear comes from knowledge. You know, when we was born, we had no knowledge. Then whatever fear we have before knowledge, that was the real fear. But with knowledge, we learn from our parents, from society, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. We learn to gossip, we learn, all of that we learn. And we also learn to distort fear. And we was afraid to be punished, afraid of not getting a reward. And that was building and building and building until fear becomes completely irrational. And this is the fear that really causes a problem, the irrational fear. Because we perceive what we believe, we perceive what we think. And what we think will cause us fear. Fear to the unknown, fear to heights, fear to any, for woman, for men, to be yourself, to not be good enough, to be rejected. All those fears come from knowledge. And from knowledge, all those fear comes mainly from lies, from the distortion of the truth. Then most of that fear that is irrational is really a lie. That if we have the courage to face the lie, to take the truth as our weapon and face that lie, we will find out that for whatever we was afraid of is not even real. It never exists. We was afraid of our own shadow. This is the way that we can approach fear, the fear that is irrational. But the real fear is an ally. It helps us to survive.
So how does that person out there who's that CEO of a company that believes profit is his only purpose in life, which is a huge kind of generalized statement of a belief system in this world these days, where there is no spirit, there is only career and profit and family, maybe. What's the difference between that person's perception of the world and a person who actually believes that we're actually here with an abstract purpose? Would you say that we're here with an abstract purpose?
Well, you know, it's just beliefs. Everybody is free to believe whatever they want to believe. We are not here to impose to believe to anybody. Then whatever I believe is just in my world. It's the way I perceive the whole world, but it's just my point of view. And whatever I say is truth for me and not necessarily truth for anybody else. Then I have no judgments about whoever want to be a rich millionaire or whatever. I have no judgment to any politician who want to control people, and in fact they do. I have no judgment for all the victims who allow them to abuse them. They are abused because they are allowed for that to happen in many ways. I have no judgment for all of that. You know, if you see from the very top, you see a perfect equilibrium. But once again, when you become the individual and you're in the middle of that, everything shifts. And it's when you can see all the fear of all around you. And fear is really the first obstacle from us to become what we really are. And perhaps in that point is the most powerful one until we face it and we win over fear. Then fear looks like something that cannot be, is too big to cross. And of course, this is the point of view of the victim. How can I ever gonna do it? It's not possible. I never will reach it. Then you see they reject themselves before anybody else rejects them. They don't even have the courage to go and face fear. But if they have the courage and they face fear, they cross fear, when you turn back and you see the fear, it was nothing really. You was afraid of nothing. But then you turn your face again and there's the next obstacle, and that's power.
So in those moments of conflict, because I imagine that those are conflicted moments for people when they feel that sense of what do I do now, and they resort to their default natures. What should a person? Because I want this to be a practical application for people of what in those moments when someone is conflicted and feels doubt, fear, what should they be doing internally?
Well, first of all, they have to be aware the difference between self-pity and compassion, or pity and compassion. To feel sorry or be compassionate. Then usually we feel sorry for ourselves, we have self-pity, and we believe we cannot make it. But if we have compassion, we will say, yes, go ahead, stand up, and do it. And that I call it courage. Then to have courage, it doesn't mean not to be afraid. It means that you face fear. You have the courage to face fear. You can win or you can lose, but at least you try. Then this is the only thing that we can do. And yes, we can see somebody in deep fear, and we have perhaps the need to help. Well, we can feel sorry for that person, which is a lack of respect, and say, oh, don't do it, I'll do it for you. Well, by doing that, that person's fear will be even bigger than before. But if instead of for us to do that, we say, okay, you can do it, give me your hand, stand up. These are the tools. Go and do it. Go and face it. That's compassion.
How do we, as individual beings, how do we affect the change that we want for ourselves and for the planet?
Well, you really cannot change the planet if you don't change yourself first. And yes, you can change some things, of course, according your knowledge, according your beliefs, but this will be your limit of help. You cannot help more than what you can help yourself in certain point of view. But if you really want to change the world, first you have to change your own world, the one that you create, the way you live your life. You need to find freedom inside of you instead of looking at outside. Yes, outside they will put you all those barriers, all those lines, they will stop you. But those lines are not bigger than the ones that you put in yourself. Then if you want freedom, you find it inside. And once you find the freedom inside, the outside is really not that big challenge. Because once that you are free, you are not that rigid the way you used to be. You become like water. And you just go around all those barriers, and you just like water, just keep going until you find the ocean.
Well, perhaps maybe could you describe what freedom is? Can you describe what freedom feels like? What its perception of the world is?
Well, we can say that when you was born, you are completely free. You was you. When you grow up, you still was you, but you didn't believe that you was you. You create an image, and you believe that you was that image. And you practice for a long time until that image becomes so perfect, but still it was not you. The real you is behind all that image, and the real you is always free, but not your image. Then is your image the one who is searching for freedom, is the one who analyzes everything, is the one who have all those beliefs, is the ones who see all that injustice outside, all the violence, which is true, that exists. I don't deny this is true. No, that exists. But then inside you exists also. In your own world, you create all those limitations. You create all those judgments. You're so afraid of your own judgment. You're afraid of your own punishment. We can call it guilt, shame. But this is how did you deal with yourself. Then the one who don't allow you to be you is you. Then freedom is really to be yourself, whatever you are, even if you have no idea what you are. Then that is freedom, to be authentic, to be yourself. And you don't ask for freedom outside. They will not give you your freedom. Only you can reach your freedom.
And what's a practical step to finding your authentic self? For people that aren't necessarily, so I'm hoping to reach an audience of people that don't necessarily, they're on the periphery of this philosophy or this way of perceiving life. What's a practical step for that first step towards personal freedom?
Well, first of all, you have to face fear and win over fear, not just face it, win. Then after that, it comes a time of clarity, because now you see fear the way it used to be, and it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. But still, you have the temptation to be afraid of that past. But you stay in that clarity until you turn your face and you see that power is there. And that's the next step, to face power. Then you imagine power as a big barrier, a big challenge, that when you start approaching power, you're powerless. You follow all the rules that somebody else did, that the people, the royalty, or whoever you want to call it, they put those laws, and you have to follow, or you pay for it. Then in that way, you are afraid to be hurt by power. Then you want to be like the ones who make the rules, because you see that the ones who make the rules, they can change it any time, according to whatever is good for them, and they don't care about all the other people. They change according to the convenience that they have. Then when you face power, you can be trapped by power, and you can become a big tyrant using power against the ones who have less power than you. But at the same time, you see the ones who have more power than you, like that they're making you a favor, and you try to adapt whatever you do according whatever they will. Then you become a puppet from them, and a tyrant for the ones who have less power than you. Then there's a lot of a struggle for power wherever you go. And there's people who used to be afraid, and they face in power, but now they're afraid because people who have more power. But it's not the same fear like the ones that they had when they faced fear for the first time. Then when you finally win over power, and power doesn't mean anything to you, and you look back, you see how nonsense is to struggle so much for that power that in the end, really, it doesn't mean anything. It just makes people struggle for nothing.
Was there a moment in your life where clarity came, or have you always been the same person?
No, I passed for everything that I described to you in different times of my life. Usually when I was a teenager and then perhaps in my early 20s. It was in my early 20s when I really faced power. And I saw it as a big trap, and at a certain point, I passed it and I said, how nonsense is that? And then comes another time of clarity. Now you see power and you have no attraction for power, but you can see how it's easy for the people who have more power just to create new laws or transform whatever is before and just keep going. But then the next challenge is coming. And the next challenge is knowledge itself, which perhaps looks like the biggest one of everything. And it's the biggest one because knowledge is the image that you create for yourself. And to face knowledge, it really means to take apart every little piece that you build. And feels like if you don't have knowledge, everything just fall apart in front of you. And that really is so scary for most of the people when they face knowledge. Because they can feel either they die or they go into a mental house when you don't have all those faces any longer. But when you face knowledge and you cross, you find out that you create knowledge, not the opposite. Knowledge is your creation. And then you have power over knowledge and not the opposite, because it's knowledge the one who becomes the big tyrant in your life.
So do you feel like you're living your purpose, and how would you sort of suggest or promote that everybody find their purpose? I mean,
well, I just give in tools. Everybody will do whatever they can do in that journey of life. They can believe or not believe whatever I say. I never will impose my point of view to anyone. That will take my freedom away. And my freedom is so precious that I will not let it go for anything, for anyone, for nothing in the world.
As a species, as individuals representing consciousness evolving and expanding, what is sort of the purpose of our being? How would you describe the purpose of our conscious moments?
You know, when we talk about consciousness, that we go back into knowledge. We want to believe that we are the great thing. Well, we are not. Our knowledge is just knowledge. We are here to be alive, to enjoy life, to explore life the most we can, to be ourselves, whatever we are. Because if you ask me what I am, I will justify my existence if I use knowledge, but I will lie. Because the truth is that I don't know what I am, and it's not important for me to know what I am. It's not even makes sense even to try to know what I am, because I exist before knowledge. Knowledge is my creation. If I use words, I will say, well, I am life. I am the force that moves matter. But still, I'm using words. There's no way to explain what I am, not even to myself. I just am. And I live in this moment.
How would you sort of describe what people call God, or any of that force that moves the matter?
Well, you know, people want to believe that there's somebody who created everything that exists. And they're right. But there's no name for that. I call it a force. I call it life. And it's one force that moves everything and create all the matter that you can perceive and most of the matter that you cannot perceive. But it's created by the same force. And it's only one. Then everything that exists is only one living being and is alive. Then we can say that we are life. And the intellect will understand it and will accumulate into knowledge, but still it's just words. Then I can call that God, or I can call it the truth, but whatever I call it, it's going to be just a word anyway. Then it's just nonsense.
So what do you make of the whole Occupy movement? I guess as you view the world from above, you sort of see that the equilibrium is shifting. There's quite dramatic polarities trying to equal things out here.
Well, it's not, they not try, they just do it. You know, humans try. And try because they rule by knowledge. But it's just the way it is. It's just action, reaction, action, reaction, action, reaction. Perfect equilibrium. If something dramatic happened, it was a counterpart who made the equilibrium. But life is eternal. We cannot destroy life.
Environmentally, it's kind of a strange thing, though, isn't it? That we're having all this effect on all these other beings. And I guess, like you're saying, there's a new equilibrium being created here. And I guess that's why the New Earth concept is a big thing these days. And
Well, once again, we come with these two different points of view. The point of view that you can see everything in general, or the particular point of view, from the particular to the general.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much.